So when my parents moved here in 1987, we were little tykes, and so we were hunting in the open field behind the house. As we grew a little older, we started investigating. We found an old logging trail that was growed up. So me and my brother got an axe and a chainsaw and a couple tools, and we started hacking our way further into this deep, deep woods. So currently we're 500 yards into our woods. And so as we got older, we ventured further and further back here. And we got into this area down, this flat down here, and we got a tree stand up, and we discovered that the deer had sort of a moving pattern through here. If we had a sunshiny morning at about 7:15, these deer would come from the east going west. And we had a lot of fun with that. So as some of the siblings then grew older, they came down here with excavators and broadened it out a little bit, made it wider. And eventually we got to have a hunting house built up here. And that's what really brought this to a total hunting paradise. At that point, we're able to bring our children. We were able to buddy hunt if we had a friend. We were able to hunt and socialize without affecting the deer. Deer could come in and out of here very nicely, and they wouldn't know if we were there or not. So we added good food and got a water source over here, and it's turned into a total utopia.
Man, one of the more memorable ones is literally the first deer. One of the first deer I killed was you bringing me down here, and you had the nice seat, and I had the cold folding chair to sit on, and that thing was crazy cold.
It was cold, wasn't it?
But just like you said earlier, I mean, these deer would come funnel right down through here. If it was a clear morning, you could bet on it. 7:15 to 7:30 here they would come, and I mean a whole mess of does came down through here, and I got a shot at one and ended up killing a deer. But that was just the first of so many. I think sort of thinking through this morning on my drive up here from Memphis, I thought about how many really good bucks like what we're holding right here have been killed off this family farm, and I think there's been like I mean at least 12 good deer that we've killed off of the farm here that were just really good, solid Henry County deer that we've killed. And so, just this deer's only 3.5 years old, and we were going to let this deer walk to 4.5. Galen and Dennis, you guys were the ones watching this deer.
This deer has an exceptional story behind it. I have over 400 trail camera pictures of this deer, and obviously we try to manage the deer on the farm to reach their full potential. And 2 of us passed this deer up during bow season, trying to let him get another year of growth on him. 4.5 is usually considered a fully mature whitetail for the bucks. So this deer, we had a lot of trail camera pictures. Obviously a family member killed him, although I found the head. They were not able to recover him immediately, and after the season was over, I got permission from a neighboring landowner to go down on his property, and I found him within 10 minutes of looking for him. So I had almost a personal relationship with this deer. Early season, putting food plots and corn out for trail camera reviews. This deer would come in on a pile of corn, and I would come down to mow the food plot with a mower, and within 30 minutes of me exiting the food plot, this deer would faithfully be on trail camera. So
and he was called, what was his name?
we named this deer Tin Time. He's one of the best deer we've ever got off the farm. He green scored 156 1/4.
Wow.
And mainly due to his time length, and obviously he's a 10-pointer. So
for this area, I mean that's
a pretty
awesome
pretty good deer.
I'll never forget back when we first started hunting back through here and developed this. We used to sort of have this, if it's brown, it's down kind of thing, and then all of a sudden we started playing with concepts of, hey man, let's let these deer walk, let's let these things grow. And we could immediately tell a difference with the kind of deer that we had in here, and it just became a way better way of hunting and seeing how far we could let these deer walk and grow into something. And another thing that I just want to point out here, you know, when you develop a property like this into a hunter's paradise, how you access your deer stand is everything. Those deer, if they know they're being hunted, man, they will leave. But if you have the ability to sneak in there and get in your deer stand undetected, man, you can really have a better shot at killing a big deer like this. And that's one thing with this hunting house, the way you access this thing, we have been able to access it even with deer down here in the plot, coming in, because you're coming in sort of off of a hill into the stand.
Well,
so
the first purpose for building this hunting house was we would come down here and we would hunt in open air deer stands like this one back here.
Froze our
because
toes off.
Because of this being in a bottom like this, the wind would come, the prevailing winds come from the south, and they would come off the hilltop. And your scent would swirl in this bottom. And the deer would almost, without fail, they would wind you. So I got so frustrated with this in 2013 after hunting down here. I had so many instances of deer winding me while I was hunting. So I started throwing the idea around about building a hunting house like this with Gene and a few of the other family members to be able to control our scent. So we can access that hunting house off of this hillside without having to come into the food plot here. And that's how we can get in there without the deer. Sometimes there's deer right down here in the food plot feeding, and we can sneak in there, and they have no idea we're here.
Then it also allows you to leave
That's
without the deer spooking. Many a time there's been deer 30, 40 yards, and you just sneak out the back. They have no idea you were around.
I mean, where can you go and hunt that way? I mean, that is a big point of value.
And
awesome idea.
It has majorly changed the way our family deer hunts now. I mean, we used to all be open air deer stands, and now it's hard to get out there in freezing weather.
That's right.
It's hard to get out in freezing weather in an open air deer stand when you've experienced a social environment that you have with them.
Man, I just got to have my coffee.
It's completely changed every dynamic of how we hunt. You know, with now being in Memphis and having a farm there, there's no way I could hunt in an open deer stand. We have all rednecks there, and it's just
a good way
these
to
deer
hunt.
they can't detect that you're there.
And to be able to take our kids with us and be able to do that, they're comfortable, we're comfortable.
Don't have to. Well, I mean, they still have to hold still, but it's not like it was when we were hunting these deer stands, sitting between your legs and waiting on a deer and sitting out there shaking, trying to, hold your gun steady.
And then Galen came along, and I mean, he has really worked hard in managing and further developing this food plot. If you look at the stuff we've got growing here, this is just a deer buffet. I mean, you got a variety of alfalfa, you got the English peas, you got the chicory in here, various plants here that deer really love. And he's also been able to kill some awesome deer on this. Take it away.
Tell us. The last 2 youth seasons, Wyatt, he's every opening morning of youth season, he piles them up in a nice buck down here.
What did you get, Wyatt?
I got a 6-point and an 8-point off the hunting house. The 6-point, which was my first buck with Dad, I hit him right. He was facing that way, but his chest was pointing right toward. So I aimed the scope and shot it right in the middle of the chest, and it nicked the heart.
He was getting nervous, and I told him, I said, "You got to shoot now." And he was facing straight on the hunting house, and I said, "You got to shoot."
That's awesome.
And I said, "Put it right in the middle of his chest, that white spot." And that thing rears up, ran just 10, 15 yards. And
awesome.
Why did you have buck fever?
Just
Maybe a little bit.
I think I was about as tore up as he was.
I couldn't wait to get down to the...
I'd say the same for us when Wilson was hunting here. And Wilson, tell him what you did.
I got a 10-point.
You got a 10-point deer. This was on the last youth hunt, our last day of the season to hunt. and we were able to come down here with me and him and his older sister, and this buck walks out, and we were hunting. We had the heater in the hunting house turned on, which is sort of a mistake, because when we opened the window, it fogged the scope up. He's working, you know, for 5 minutes trying to get a bead on this deer. We thought we weren't going to get him. He was starting to walk back out, and finally he's able to get a bead on him, and he dropped on the spot.
We're still not quite over that one, Wilson, because we hunted that deer so hard that year. We knew he was in here, and we were determined to kill that deer. And he just kept, I mean, just evading us, and we just couldn't get on him. And then you come down here. I think he still had his school clothes or something.
Last day of the season,
and
yep.
didn't even have camo on. Comes
Right.
out here and kills our biggest deer on the farm. We're like, I'll tell you what,
Some hunting is not going to go down fair. Some of it's not going to go down fair. You got some people that you know, are hunting the deer hard, and you know, somebody else lucks up and
Well, but
and
we've
gets them.
all killed.
Yeah,
I mean,
each other's
we've
deer,
all
so
had
to
very
speak.
satisfying hunts.
Yes.
And last year was my best hunt. And
Wow.
best deer on the farm.
Wow.
Shot it with black powder and on another food plot just west of here.
Wow.
And I call that my God deer because I knew that could be my last season. I didn't know. And I told God, me and him had a conversation. I said, look, I need one good deer. One. And that last light, literally, it's like one of those hunting stories. Last light, all of a sudden there he was. I really don't know where he came from. Wow. And managed to pull it off. And he's a really good 11
pretty deer.
swamp buck. Didn't
Swamp
know he
buck,
was
right.
around.
Yeah.
Until a week before we got trail
Yeah.
camera pictures, and then he showed
Yeah.
up that evening.
11,
Opening day of muzzleloader.
11 points. Right?
11 pointer.
Yeah.
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 No, it's been
That's
satisfying hunts.
Man,
For-
that is awesome.
Tell me about that deer you guys were talking about.
Yes.
Tell me what you remember.
Yes.
Raising that gun up and finding him in your sights and listening to Dad. Tell me about those moments.
I was nervous.
You were nervous.
Yeah, its backside was towards me, so I couldn't really get a good shot on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At first. What did you think when you went down?
I didn't even know if I hit it.
You didn't know if you hit it?
No.
Yeah.
Did you get buck fever?
Yeah.
Oh, afterwards, he flopped on the little bed in the hunting house. He shook like a leaf. I mean, he was just tore up.
That's awesome.
And then him and his sister ran out there. And interestingly, his older sister, we had a little buck that stayed over here at the edge. And that little buck gave her a chance to try to shoot. And she shot, and the deer ran in the woods. I thought, oh, well, you know, she didn't hit it. We went over there and looked at his buck. And then, you know, I said, well, we need to go look at least for his sister's shot. So we went over there, and I was just shocked to see some blood on a leaf down here. And I looked at her and I said, young lady, you hit that thing. I think by accident, but anyway, that was just kidding her. So we went in the woods not far, and there it was, and she was up and down jumping. I mean, just excited as you could have got a kid in a candy store. So they really had a big time. They had a really big time.
We have so many memories. You know, it goes even to the turkeys. You know, I'll never forget when the turkeys started coming into this area, and man, some of the turkey hunts that I had as a kid. I think I was maybe 12, 13 years of age. I mean, we've killed some huge gobblers down in here. You know, just from turkeys to the deer, it's a one-of-a-kind property that somebody else can take this and build on it and just have an amazing place, state-of-the-art place to not only bring your kids, your family, and make some memories here that are just out of this world. And you know, it's sort of unfortunate that we are where we are because we lost both of our parents, but at the end of the day, if it wasn't for them and providing us a place like this, you know, somebody else can take this, build on it,
Agreed.
have some amazing memories.
Yeah.
Right.
So
The evolution of this food plot, this spot in particular, it's obviously named the hot spot for a reason.
That's right.
Was the way it started with you and Olin. I mean, right over in this particular area right here was the only open area.
That's right.
And there was water sitting out here. It was a swamp. And then, you know, maybe 10 years after you and Olin were down here hunting, setting some stuff up, Gene came on the scene.
Yeah.
And he developed this main area right here with a friend of his, you know,
right.
got a bulldozer in here and opened it up, leveled it out, you know, and a lot of the swamp water got pushed to the west side, obviously, in the creek. And that made this huntable and able to plant food sources and everything. And then, you know, when we built the hunting house, we only had this small area down here, and that's when we started looking at developing the shooting lane, which is it goes up there.
To bring out.
There's 300 yards from that hunting house to the upper
far
end of the shooting lane.
You can't see that in this video, but yeah, it's over right in front of the hunting house here, and extends north there for 300 yards, and it's as wide as the field is right here. There's a lot of food source over there.
Yeah.
And a lot of deer traveling from east to west cross. So the percentage of sightings just goes up astronomically. And that's why it's called the hot spots. You're going to see more deer in this spot than in any other place of the farm.
Where you'd see 5 to 10 deer in a morning in this bottom area, you know, now that we have the shooting lane, we can come down here. Those mornings we've seen up to 30, sometimes 40 deer.
30, 40 deer
in one set.
Has anybody ever hunted here since this has all been developed and not seen a deer on a hunt?
I have never.
Don't really recall that.
Another thing is, I have had all day sits in this stand.
Right.
You're comfortable. You bring your food. You can hang out. And I'm telling you, when the rut's on, you want to be in there because you'll see deer all throughout the day. And as a lot of these hunters know, a lot of your deer, your big bucks, will come out around midday, lunchtime, 1 o'clock. Man, you can make yourself real comfortable up there. You can sit there all day, and you will not believe the deer that you see just crossing through, especially during the rut when they're out there running.
It goes from a hunt to a show.
It does.
I mean,
it really does.
Everything you see.
If there's a deer on the property, you don't have to go back in the bedding area to find it.
Right.
If you sit here during the day, during the rut especially, you're gonna at some
frequent this spot.
At some point, that deer is gonna cross through here.
That's right.
And you know, there were a lot of deer I think that skirted this lower portion of the food plot. Whereas now, if they want to cross, they're crossing the shooting lane up there. You know, going to the east, and you would have never seen them otherwise.
Yeah,
That's right.
and you've also got the whole dynamic, the way this whole thing is set up. You've got big deer that will come to the field, to the edge of a field, and they'll stop to look and see if they see any deer out here. And the way this thing was designed was that a deer almost has to come out into a shootable area in order to fully scout out. So if you've got a buck in the rut and he's looking for that hot doe, he's going to show himself here because of the way the whole thing is set up. Yeah. If he's just going out to a regular ag field, they'll go to the edge of that woods and they'll stop and they'll look, and if they don't see a deer, they're going to turn around and go back and never show themselves. Here, they're going to show themselves, and you'll have a shot somewhere along the line.
That's a good point. That's a great point.
It might not be a big shot or a big chance. Like this deer here, he came out on the east side and strictly went straight across. But there was the shot.
There was the shot.
And Dennis was able to harvest that one last year.
I hunted with a good friend here a couple of years back, and he was from Oklahoma. And I tell you what, he sat up there crack ready, and we had a coyote that just flew across that shooting lane. I mean, he was running. He popped the window and hollered at the coyote. He froze right on our side of a tree, and he cracked shot, and that sucker went 30 yards in the woods and piled up. Boy, that was fun. I mean, that was a lot of fun.
It is a great place to predator hunt in the off season. It's they're going to cross.
Coyotes
through
cross through. Yep.
Well, I was going to say, as a whole, the recreation that you can have on this property is insane. I mean, so there's tons of squirrels, tons of rabbits. Had an amazing rabbit hunt with dogs last year. Killed 10 swamp rabbits.
Man, that's almost twice
so
the
you
rabbit.
got your turkey. Shot a really nice tom just right over behind us here.
Wow.
This past spring. trails. The trail network that's on
Yeah.
this place is phenomenal. I don't know if I've ever been on another property
Yeah, I've not.
that has got the amount of trails, the 3 or 4 springs that are on the
Side-by-side
property.
trails. I mean, we're
Side
not
by
talking
side,
about deer
literally.
trails. We're talking about
Yes.
side-by-side trails to access the deep, deep
So,
woods.
After hunting season, the times you just need to unwind and get out in nature, go down to
Good
the
point.
spring. Man, it was
and
memories,
I mean,
memories.
Just to sort of pile on top of that, not only do you have the trails, but man, you've got plenty of places to take your deer around here, deer processors, and you got Yoder's Country Store down the road. You need one of the best
All the
sandwiches
snacks.
in Henry County. There you go. You need snacks. And that's one thing that we always enjoyed as a family. When we came out here, you could tag your deer, throw that sucker in the back, and you had Yoder Brothers to take it to. And but now it's still here. You can load your deer up. You got places you can take it, and truly it just creates an experience that's a one of a kind.
I agree.
That's really nice.
And you mentioned the
fun.
spring. Well, we should note about 400 yards west of here, there's a big drop off in the ridge to the north of this here. And at the base of that ridge are about 3 or 4 freshwater springs. I'm talking about white sand freshwater spring. And that was a highlight on the farm because we go there after we're bow hunting. It's hot. And we could go there and we would just dive off down into the freshwater spring and get a good drink of 53-degree spring water.
Best
And
water you'll taste.
that is an almost an emotional spot on the farm. I mean, it's sort of a hub right there. And we'll have some pictures and footage of that too later on, but that is a big highlight on this farm.
In 35 years of being here, it has never
It's
run dry.
never ran dry in 35 years
Always
of being
consistent,
here. I would estimate 20 to 25 gallons per minute
at least.
coming out of that tributary right now.
Yeah,
It's a really good spot.
yeah.